Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of my LinkedIn Live. I am so honored and happy to have Kerry Barrett back. Kerry Barrett was one of my first LinkedIn Live guests, and we talked back then during the pandemic about video interviewing
Yep.
and the idea of using video, which I think by now we are all video experts, if
Yep.
you will. We know about all that stuff, but there's still so much more to learn. And we were talking before, actually. I'm very self-conscious about my videos. I haven't changed my LinkedIn cover story in a while. The best video I did recently was when I was on vacation up in Boston. I did a little video as I was walking around Cumberland, Commonwealth Ave, just having a nice coffee, saying I'm on vacation, and it wasn't much to it, but I felt really comfortable about that. So Carrie, first, welcome for joining. I see you're on mute, so just unmute yourself. Cool.
I muted myself because I had a visitor that actually
That's
broke
okay.
in.
No worries. No. This is like on CNBC where they're doing the talk with someone, and then there was a guy in the back who was like not part of it. So no worries. This is
Yeah.
what we do.
It's how it goes. I mean, I have everything set. I have my lock. I even have a combination lock on my office door, so they technically can't break in, but clearly you see how well that works. And it doesn't matter how long we've been in the pandemic and how often I've been in this position, those things still happen. And I think, you talked a little bit about live video, and I'll just circle back very quickly with that
Sure.
point. That's just how it goes. If you can roll with the punches and turn a moment like that into an opportunity to connect with whomever is watching you and has likely been in a similar situation, then that's a win. It's not.
I had a thing where I had the thing on the door too.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, I hear the door knock. I'm like, and I'm on the thing. And next thing you know, it's my wife and my aunt coming in. Like, is everything okay? I'm like, welcome to the show.
Yeah. I had an issue, or not an issue. I had an incident, maybe is a better way to say that, about a year ago, and I'll never forget it. I was on a call with two potential clients, and my mother walked in, and I'm like, "Hold on, Mom, I'm on a call," and she just continues to talk, and I'm like, "Hold on a second, give me 2 seconds. I'm on a call. I'll be off in just a minute. I'm on a call with a client." She's like, "Well, I'm your mother." It was just, this is how it goes.
So I think that's an important thing to bring up, is to be genuine when you're doing when you're on a video, for sure, because you just never know, and you're rolling with the punches for sure.
Absolutely. Claire, I see you. Our kids are our real bosses. You're darn straight they are. Absolutely, 100%. They rule this roost, and they know it, unfortunately. But you're right, Ken. I mean, it's rolling with the punches and recognizing that really and truly the benefit of live, or really any sort of video that you're putting out there, is the opportunity to be authentic. And I know that word has been thrown around, and it's been diluted a lot over the past 2 years, but really all it means is that you're able to engage and be real and be spontaneous and make yourself relatable. There is a very good chance that everybody who is watching or listening has dealt with something similar. Really, probably you're quite lucky that he didn't walk in here without his pants on. That's another real life scenario.
Don't give him any ideas. Don't give him any ideas.
He's gone.
Okay. I mean, we've had different challenges. I mean, I did one of my first events, and I lost the power. And all of a sudden, I couldn't get back in, but apparently the group ran itself.
Oh, there you go. That's how you have them trained well. The same thing happened to me a couple of months ago. I was supposed to host a master class, and we had a power outage, which never happens. And the hotspot on my phone was unstable, and I had to move it a couple of days later. And we didn't have the attendance that we had hoped for. And that's just, it's like taking your licks and getting back up and moving forward.
So what have you? So I know you from actually having seen you on TV many times when you're on Channel 4 and NBC. And was it easy for you to do that?
It got easy. And when I say easy, I don't mean that there weren't challenges. Certainly when you're, let's say covering breaking news for 6 hours and straight, and you have almost no information to go off of, your adrenaline gets going. But it became easier. I love now live video. I have loved it ever since. I was probably about 5 years into my news career. Prior to that, it scared the pants off me. But ever since that sort of moment, and I can tell you a little bit about what happened. I love live video. I used to have a debilitating fear of being on camera, or even in fact being seen. You know, I had a crushing fear of public speaking. I was going to be a veterinarian. I didn't want to have to talk to people. That didn't work out. I do love telling stories. I love learning about people, and that transitioned its way into a journalism career. Why I specifically picked TV, probably because I thought it was a challenge, but I have learned so much from it. It grew my brand certainly in the news industry. It grew my brand as a business. And when I first started my business, I knew nothing other than how to put video out. And Benjamin,
Hi, Benjamin.
popcorn's ready now.
You,
There you go, buddy. I'm on a call. Okay. It's hot. See ya. I knew nothing about marketing myself or branding or anything like that. The only thing that I knew how to do was to put video out. And that's really how I started and how I grew, and still a big part of how I secure clients right now, or
so
potential
what?
clients.
So what was one of the biggest challenges? Now that you're on your own and you're out doing this, was it hard when you got to the beginning to kind of take that leap of faith? And like it was for me, I know. What about for you?
Listen, the truth is I had zero idea of what I was getting into. I'm a journalist. I never even really had to deal with anything like marketing. There was, you know, a team that did that, and
Right.
creative, and, you know, all of that stuff. I didn't have to manage a budget or go out and search for clients. Stories, yes, but those I had figured out how to find. And so I had no idea what I was getting into. So no, absolutely not. I came home from a network meeting one time as I was trying to figure out what I was going to do after I was out of the news business. And somebody had suggested I'd start my own business. And I came home and I told my husband, I'm like, I'm going to start a business. And that was pretty much like the only thought that went into it. I registered my LLC the next day, and that was how it began. But the truth is, when I first started, I was so far out of my league that I didn't know which way was up. You know, I'd go to a networking meeting and I didn't really even know what my offer was. You know, what do you do? I think I do public speaking coaching. They're like, how are you going to scale that? And I would be like, hold on a minute. Google, what does scale mean? Like, it was that bad. Somebody asked me, you know, about my P&L. No idea what that was. I probably Googled that and wrote actually P letter N L to try and figure out what it was. So no, I was way out of my league, and it was a very steep uphill climb, and it still is. I'm still learning. You know, I'm still figuring out what loss leader means, and front end offer and back end offer and funnels and all that other stuff. But it's coming together, and without video, it would have been done a long time ago.
So what are some of the challenges, like when you work with clients or go on calls? I mean, what are some of the challenges you see that you think can be used for people to improve themselves?
You know, truly, I think the biggest challenge for most people, people talk about tech being an issue, and they talk about time being an issue. And absolutely, those two things can be crippling almost in your ability to put video out. But the truth is, once you understand that really all you need to put video out is your phone, your face, and your voice, that's pretty much it. The tech issues begin to fix themselves. Yes, you can begin to get fancy, but you don't have to. You definitely don't have to put video out there. Time, once you have a system for production and scheduling, that also can be done very quickly and efficiently. You know, I could shoot 100 videos in under 2 hours. And no, not all of them are long. Some of them are just teasers, and some of them may be digital ads, and some of them may be, you know, 5 or 10 or 15-second clips. But once you have a system and you're comfortable with being on camera, the time issue, I don't want to say goes away. Time is always an issue for an entrepreneur, but it's very manageable. But the key component there is something that I just mentioned, which is getting comfortable on camera. Often time and tech, I find, are sort of an excuse. Once you eliminate those problems, then it's, oh my gosh, I got to put myself out there. And that for most people is the challenge. I have clients who, when you're meeting with them face to face, They are bubbly and exuberant and
Mhm.
passionate and enthusiastic. And heck, you turn on that little red tally light and the camera goes on and all of that stuff goes away. And I think it's part of understanding how to deliver on camera and understanding the challenges that the camera presents, right? You're not
Right.
3D anymore, you're 2D, but it's also
What did
understanding
you say? You're not what?
you're not 3D. You're not a
Oh,
3D
3D.
person
Oh,
anymore.
oh,
Yeah,
I
you're
thought you said
2D, right?
2D.
Yeah. No, you're 2D,
Okay.
meaning that the camera tamps down on all of those things that we get when we're talking to somebody in person. So you have to understand how to speak to a camera so that you can be relatable and people can connect with
Mhm.
you and that you are enthusiastic and passionate about what you do. And so people get caught up in all of that. They get caught up on is my makeup right? Is my clothing right? And yes, all of that stuff is important. It helps you build confidence. But at the end of the day, being good on camera, there's really three main points. It's being personable, it's being memorable, and
Mhm.
it's being relatable. Those three things mitigate all of those other challenges. If you can figure out how to do those three things, you've got it set.
I know in my case, I can be, um, I don't know what the right words, but I'm the first person to admit that I don't know how I'm doing some of this stuff,
Right.
because, and I'm trying it out, and it's fun that way because people know that. And I
Yeah.
think, just to let you know, Lizette, loved your son's interruption.
You're
No,
welcome.
he is, she definitely related to the idea of you Googling stuff. I have
Yep.
to admit, I Google stuff all the time
Mhm.
after a call like this or another when I have, or when I don't know what it is, just to find out, because
Mhm.
it's like I should have known that. Well,
I know we get in our own heads about it. Oh, I should have known that. I don't. I'm not qualified to talk about this, or I can't answer these questions. And really, we all have questions. There is no way that any of us could know 100% of everything that goes on in business. If that were the case, we'd all be multi-gazillionaires.
yeah.
But we all have the same issues. We really do.
And sometimes it's like you're afraid to ask the question, even
At
though everyone has the same
100%.
question. When I was in corporate, I'd be afraid to ask the question because I didn't want to look stupid. Now I don't care as much anymore
Right.
because what's the worst thing that happens?
Right.
Nothing.
I already know I'm stupid, so I could ask a lot of stupid questions.
So I'd be curious to know if anyone from the audience has anything that they would like to ask. The one thing you said a long time ago, I don't know if you remember it, is it's so important to have a backup plan when you're doing a video interview in case you get disconnected, and
Yeah.
try to plan that in advance because,
Hmm.
whether it's a phone call or something else, because you never know when something's going to happen.
At 100%. And so I like to do a quick test before I do a live stream or something like that. I like to get on. Sometimes I'll even run
Mhm.
my internet connection through a tester to see how quick the upload and download speeds are. My computer is the internet is a hard wire, right? So it's not wireless, which means usually the connection is pretty good. But absolutely, you should have a backup plan. You should be able to jump back into Zoom or StreamYard. In fact, I would practice doing that. I would practice disconnecting and then jumping back in and seeing how quickly you can make it back into the live stream, and have your phone on standby so that if there is an issue, if you have a tech team who can help you, or if you just have, you can connect with whoever it is that you are talking to this
Mhm.
way. Have some sort of backup. And if you do have a wobbly internet connection, just let your audience know. Listen, I'm having some internet issues.
Mhm.
If I drop out, hang tight. I'll be back as soon as I can.
Last week, the guest was kind of squeamish and afraid, so we
Mhm.
actually did a test
Yep.
StreamYard at 11 o'clock just to make sure,
Yep.
and it was a good thing we did.
Uh-oh.
For sure. So I want to get to some of the comments here.
Yeah.
We've been having such a great time talking. I kind of didn't want to neglect the audience.
Oh, of course.
Time and tech is an excuse. I love that, and I think
Who's that?
and the same
Oh,
thing.
Nigel,
The
yes.
internet seems to be awash with videos giving advice on how to make videos. What do you think about the wealth of advice that's so readily available? And this is true whether it's
Yeah.
resumes or LinkedIn or anything. You know,
Yeah. So a couple of quick things, and Nigel, I could talk about this forever. There's two things that are, I think maybe three, that are generally lacking in a lot of the advice that's out there. Certainly not all of them, but a lot of it. Number one is that people giving advice on business videos, generally the videos are incredibly boring. The video that you have up on your website is not the right video to put on LinkedIn. Nobody will watch it. It's not interesting. Videos on LinkedIn or any social media need to be not only educational, but also entertaining and inspiring. So people will watch a video if it holds them, if there's entertainment, if it brings them by the hand from the beginning to the end. We hear a lot about storytelling. It doesn't have to be a huge, long thing, but those things matter. So a lot of the business videos you see on LinkedIn, especially product videos, they're ego videos and they are not interesting at all to watch. So your video needs to be interesting. I suggest actually looking at entertainers. Look at the videos that entertainers put out and find out what makes them compelling. The second thing that people tend to forget is that you have to be able to deliver. It doesn't matter how great your words are or what your offer is or how you can help people. If you're so dry and uninteresting or unfriendly, that people aren't going to sit and watch from beginning to end because there's way too much other really compelling video that's out there that they can find very easily. So keeping it entertaining and looking to entertainers to model your videos after. Doesn't mean it needs to be goofy or funny. It just needs to be compelling. And I also think my final point on that is a lot of people focus on social media video, which is great. That's the way you open the door to the party that is your business. However, there are so many ways that you can use video in all of the other parts of your funnel that if your video content stops and starts with social, you're missing like 95% of the opportunity video provides. So video podcasts, vlogs, video sales letters, landing pages, video DMs on LinkedIn. There's so many other ways to use video that they're absolutely worth exploring.
So just a comment, do you save your videos on the cloud or thumb drives? I mean, or do you have a YouTube channel? I mean, what's your preferred method of keeping things?
Yeah, I have some videos on a thumb drive. I have a YouTube channel. So a lot of my videos are there unlisted until they're ready to be released. But I back up all of my stuff on a hard drive. If I'm just, shooting something quick that I may use later, I keep it in Dropbox or Google Drive. But I know storage is an issue. So I actually do pay for some extra storage as well because I do so much video content.
So Nigel, without putting you on the spot, what are the top 5 tips for video success on LinkedIn?
Top 5 tips for video success on LinkedIn. Well, your videos need to be, like I said, entertaining, educational, and inspiring. They also need to be anywhere from 30 to maybe 90 seconds, no longer than that. LinkedIn will let you upload up to 10 minutes of video, but nobody, unless they know you and are super invested in who you are and your brand, is going to sit through 10 minutes of video. So your sweet spot is maybe even 20 seconds to 90 seconds. You could even take it down a little bit further than that. Another top tip for LinkedIn video that a lot of people miss is the importance of having captions on their videos. It's very easy to do. You can do it through Rev. You can do it through rev.com or zubtitle.com. The importance of having transcriptions or captions actually on your video cannot be overstated. So many people miss this, but most people are looking at LinkedIn or scrolling with the sound off. And if if they're not able to tell what you're talking about, they're not going to stick around. And that really applies to everything. It applies to Instagram and it applies to Facebook and certainly applies to YouTube as well. Another top tip for video 5, right? What are we on? 3
or 4 or something?
Nigel, you're asking for a lot. Another top tip for video on LinkedIn is to start going live. And if you do not have LinkedIn Live, turn on creator mode and you should be good to go. It used to be a very long, painful process to get approved for LinkedIn Live, but going live is hands down the best way to get really good at video really quickly. In fact, I just did a post about that on my own LinkedIn profile today, and I have a little mini training on how to live stream that you're welcome to check out. It's in the comments. But going live is a great way to get really good really quickly. And I think my final tip, and this really just applies across the board to video, not specifically LinkedIn, is to stop overthinking it. If you are doing more than 3 or 4 takes of your recorded video content, you are overthinking it. Anything beyond that says that you're looking for perfection, and you're never going to find it. Nobody is looking at you through the head trash that you're looking at yourself with. And so once you've hit 4 takes, barring some sort of technological or verbal disaster, you're good.
So I want to get to as many questions as possible. Do you have a pre-video routine to warm up, like laughing? And I had never even thought about that, honestly.
Yeah. Lizette, such a good question. I usually don't. The reason that I don't is because I've done this for 20 years now. I can just sort of put myself in performance mode very quickly. But for some of my clients who are not quite there yet, and that's frankly most of us, it's still in sort of an unnatural environment for many of us to be in, and I get that 100%. I actually suggest putting on a song that pumps you up, that you absolutely love, dance around your room, belt it out at the top of your voice, and then while that energy is still sort of coursing through you, sit down, or stand is even better, and create your video. Whatever song is your like go-to, like Supergirl or Superman song, listen to that one, dance around.
Yeah,
Like
I had never thought about that. I have to do that, like We Are the Champions,
Yeah,
or
Eye of the Tiger, like any of that stuff.
right.
Thunderstruck.
So, and maybe I'll actually make that part of this these LinkedIn lives in the future.
There you go. That could be your open. You should record yourself dancing.
So what's the next leap of video technology that you think would improve current technology?
Oh boy, that's a good question. I think one of the biggest challenges for people is editing. There's a lot of really great apps that are out there right now to edit. InShot is one of them. InVideo is another. You don't need to get fancy with Adobe Premiere or anything like that, but finding ways to make editing videos easier than it is now, I think, is probably the next big step. Videos that have movement and are engaging, this sort of circles back to Nigel's question about making video interesting. If you can add different shots, if you can create sequences, and if you're not sure what that is, I'm happy to talk a little bit further about it, transitions, but all of those things require editing. And to be honest with you, I put out so much video content that I don't even have time to edit all of that stuff myself. If I have something that requires a lot of attention, I want it to have some real spit and polish, I send that out to an editor, because the platforms that are out there, aside from, Adobe Premiere, which is a high-end editing platform, software system, those sorts of things are a little bit more difficult to do. They can be done, but let me just be clear. If you're just sticking your toe into the video content creation arena, don't worry about that. Shoot a talking head video from beginning to end and call it a day.
One thing I actually started to do, and this is going to lead into one of the questions coming up. I have a website, and I did some user guides or some training guides. And rather than doing the steps, which are very, very cumbersome, I thought, let me go through and tape some videos about how to do it.
Yeah.
It was probably the hardest thing I had to do, but it gave me a different understanding as to, well, if I'm watching this and I don't know what to do.
Yeah, 100%. You can show. The great thing about video is that even, if you're doing something other than a talking head video, and this was always the sort of motto in any newsroom I worked in, is show, don't tell. Now, on a video like that, a tutorial, you're showing and telling. But for example, I did a YouTube tutorial on how to practice going live on Instagram. Instagram has a practice live feature, and it's much easier for me to record my screen and walk you through the steps so that you can see what it looks like than it is to try and sit here and explain all the steps or show it to you in a static slide or something like that. So video is a great opportunity to show aside from tell.
And Boss brings up the question. That's why I was leading into it. A lot of what I've done, what I used to do in corporate, was doing training, and we actually put together training videos. We did things for benefits and things. So is there a certain duration or even a way to get past the PowerPoint? Because I was PowerPointed out before we even had all these presentations, and
Yeah.
it's like I just get bored. I don't really. I just send it to me afterward, and I'll read it.
Right.
So
well, if you have to read the PowerPoint presentation, that's mistake number one.
okay.
PowerPoint presentations, we've all heard of death by PowerPoint, and
Yeah.
people have a tendency, not everybody, but there's a tendency to use them as a crutch. I can sort of pull them up over my face if I'm doing a virtual presentation, and I can read my script below it, or I look at my talking points or whatever it is. That is absolutely applicable. But when 95% of your presentation is delivered that way, you are not only are you distracting your audience, you're missing a huge opportunity. If you're reading what your PowerPoint says, that's where you need to start. The second point is your PowerPoint should be a graphic or a picture, maybe a few lines of text that don't parrot exactly what you're saying. Anything more than that, and your audience isn't going to be listening to you, they're going to be reading the PowerPoint. The second point is I generally like to keep my PowerPoints, unless they're really specifically needed, to less than 10% of my presentation. Other than that, I'm either showing videos or I'm on camera talking to my audience. 10% is it keeps you from leading on those slides as a crutch. Now, Boz, you asked a little bit.
I was going to lead into that because I do a lot of WebExes and webinars and things, and one of my sweet spots is to end it before an hour, like between 30 to 45 minutes, because by then people are like, I got my next meeting to go to, my next thing to go to. And so I'd be curious, based on your experience and trainings, what you would suggest, or I actually have the question posted here.
Yeah. And Boss, it's good to see you here. It depends on a couple of things. Part of it depends on how engaging the leader of that meeting is. Does that leader or facilitator or boss or manager, whoever it is that's at the head of that meeting, do they know how to bring everybody in? Do they know how to start a meeting? Do they know how to keep it on point? Is there opportunity for everybody to talk, or is one person dominating most of the conversation? If you're a team leader, a boss, a manager, you're hosting these sort of events or meetings, virtual meetings for your team, you need to know how to mitigate that domineering person. Somebody who is naturally shy may find it even harder to speak up during virtual meetings, and you want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to share their thoughts and share their ideas as well. Otherwise, why do you have a team? So part of it depends on the ability of the leader to keep the meeting on point and bring everybody in. Meetings used to be an hour in person and on Zoom or wherever it is that you're hosting them. That's too long. I mean, unless you're having a training or something very specific. I have a group training with a corporate entity that's 3 hours. And that was their request. I work breaks into that. But generally speaking, for a meeting with your team, you got to stay on point. You got to try and keep it to about 30 minutes. By noon, most people have been on 5 of those and they are zoomed out. They're done. And it's because you have to perform. It's a different sort of thing. So half an hour. And if you are sort of adjusting your presentations for different lengths, I like to make my presentations modular, if you will, meaning even within one particular topic, there are elements that I can pull out. So if I have a half an hour presentation and I need to bring it down to 15 minutes for something specific, I'll have elements of that presentation that I can just remove, and the rest fits together the way that it should in order to make sense.
One thing I used to do is in corporate, I used to send out follow-up bullet points about the session.
Yeah, absolutely. Worksheets, anything like that.
Right. Because that was my responsibility sometimes as the business analyst, note taker, if you will. Maybe the person couldn't make the meeting and they sent one of their team members. So these are the bullet points. These are the next steps. So in case you'd missed it. You didn't really miss anything.
And one other thing, if I could piggyback on that, Ken, because you
Sure.
make such a good point, is one of the opportunities that's really sort of missed in this virtual world, and there are lots of efficiencies. I'm a big fan of it, but it's that water cooler moment. Everybody's filtering out of the conference room and they're standing around the water cooler, or they're walking back to their desk in their hallway, and like somebody who may be shy, that may be where they speak up one-on-one to their boss or their team leader, and great ideas are incubated by the water cooler and in the hallway. And so trying to, aside from the fact that for younger people who are entering the workforce in this virtual environment, those friendships that turned into mentors and colleagues and associates and support that, many of us who started in an office somewhere can remember the very first people that we met when we started our professional careers. And many of us are probably still friends with them because they turned into a trusted advisor, a mentor, a friend, a support system. So recognizing for younger employees, they're missing out on that element as well. So if you're a boss or a team leader, schedule or spontaneously ask for 10 minutes of video time. Two great apps for that, House Party and Marco Polo. They're spontaneous. You can do quick live little video chats, and you can try and replicate that sort of spontaneous water cooler talk, if you will, in a way that is still in a virtual environment. It's not perfect, but we need to do our best to mitigate some of the challenges.
I think a lot of times there's a mindset, you're being called to a meeting.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, what did I do wrong? What's going to go on here? So you get your antenna up sometimes. I think you want to just kind of break down those barriers.
Absolutely. Say if you're a leader and you notice there was an employee who wasn't able to speak up at a meeting the way that you might have wanted them to, say, hey, you were a little quiet in the meeting. I'd love to get your thoughts. Or, hey, that was a great idea. I'd love to explore it with you a little further. You got 10 minutes, and then hop on your phone and do a quick call.
So in terms of the optimal backgrounds for video interviewing, anything to avoid, I will say one thing, which I hate fake Zoom backgrounds. I mean, it used to be a joke. Well, here we are. Here's a picture of the beach behind me. And of course, we know we're not at the beach. I mean,
No.
but like that drives me crazy.
I have to tell you, they're fine if you're doing a Zoom happy hour. I don't know. Does anybody do those anymore? If you are, those things are fine. Put up whatever you want behind you. But in order for a virtual background to not look sloppy, you know how it is. You move your hand and like your hand disappears for a while, and you can actually see what's behind you before the virtual screen fills in. They look sloppy. And because they're sloppy, they're distracting. The only way to get around that is if your lighting is absolutely pristine. And I mean, you have somebody come in and set up studio lighting for you. It has to be perfect in order for those to work. The other thing that is maybe a little bit counterintuitive is, and I'll answer the question about what is a good background, is a background that has your logo on it. So if you're just recording a video for LinkedIn, it's funny or it's entertaining or it's thought leadership, it's not specifically sales or a sales presentation, don't put your logo up on the background behind you. It is a dead giveaway. I mean, we're all doing this, but it is a visual reminder that you're selling something. We all are, but we don't need to, ram that down people's throats. We want to offer value, right? We want to cultivate conversations and audience and community. And that's the power of video and LinkedIn. So don't record a thought leadership piece with your logo behind you. It's people make that mistake all the time, and it turns people off. I've never seen a video like that gets a ton of engagement. In terms of background, a lot of what I talk about is aesthetics, but it's aesthetics with a purpose, meaning that it is designed to convey authority, confidence, credibility, and it's not distracting. If it's distracting, it is detracting. And so having some personal tchotchkes, if you will, pictures of your kids, or, if you have awards or certificate or something you want to put up in the background, that's fine. And it should be visually interesting, but neutral enough that once people have taken a cursory view of it, that they're back to looking at you. So generally speaking, what that means is more neutral colors. None of these are hard and fast rules, but more neutral colors, no clutter and disaster on the floor behind you, right? People have this much context. If you were just to look a hair over off screen, you'd see the disaster on my floor. But I know that if I have that behind me, it's going to be distracting. So I clear it out of the way before I do a video or a live stream like this. And being able to position yourself sort of front and center in your live shot. In fact, I'm a little bit taller than I would like to be. I'm going to bring my chair down just a little bit, minimal amount of headroom, centered, generally speaking, in the middle of your frame. So you are filling the frame, which is exactly the same concept as owning the stage. If you were giving a public speech and you weren't, with the death grip behind the podium and you were working the stage, it's the exact same concept.
A couple of things which I've had to teach myself. I wear glasses, so the glasses reflect.
Yeah.
And I learned a long time ago that, that's great for like family and stuff. So I have to take my glasses off. So I try not to squint too much. And the other thing is trying to smile more.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It is so counterintuitive for me to smile.
Yeah.
I do smile in real life, but it's not something that comes easily to me.
No, and it's not for a lot of people, Ken. I had one of my very first clients was like, I can't smile on cue. And I'm like, well, you got to find something to be happy about, because whatever it is, whether it's you have this opportunity to connect with people, whether it's you had a great cup of coffee this morning, whatever that is, think about that and smile about that. If the smiling on cue thing is not something you can muster, but you're absolutely right. What maybe even a smile in real life doesn't look like a smile on camera for a lot of it. It looks like a smirk. And so I have to be very deliberate about the same thing. In fact, I learned that from my time on the news desk. I used to look miserable. I didn't feel miserable, but I looked it because I didn't understand what the camera was doing, right? We're going back to that 3D versus 2D phenomena. And you couldn't see my smile. And so one of the ways that I learned to be intentional about it, and this sounds a bit maybe counterintuitive, but I would take a story in the news that was tragic or sad, and not on camera, but practicing, I would read that story with a smile on my face. And not because the story made me happy, but because I had to get in the habit of smiling even when it felt unnatural. And there's no sure way for a smile to feel unnatural than to be talking about something tragic or sad while you're smiling. And once I was able to put it there intentionally, then the natural part became natural.
You bring up a good point also, because so many times things just happen.
Yeah.
Whether you lose power, or all of a sudden the air conditioner doesn't work at home, or all of a sudden something happens, and it's being able to roll with the punches. All of us are trying to do the best we can, and I think that's so important.
Absolutely. Take those mistakes, those issues, errors, flaws, technological problems, whatever, turn them into a moment to endear your audience to you. In the news industry, I used to call those moments personality showcases, because if you could handle them well, they were demonstrative of what it would be like to, in the news industry, sit at a bar and have a beer with you. In the business world, what it would be like to work with you. And so if you can take those challenges and they don't ruffle your feathers, or at least not visibly, and you can turn them into a moment where they offer connection, that's key. In fact, it's funny. A lot of what we're talking about parrots, what I posted on LinkedIn today, and that wasn't intentional, but I posted a video with, and I don't know how many of you may remember this, Beyonce, the singer, as if she needs an introduction. Beyonce. Have you heard of her? She was doing a concert. This was a while ago. I want to say it was in like 2012, maybe. And her hair got caught in one of the fans on the stage. And she didn't miss a beat. She kept singing, and she's trying to pull her hair out of the fan. And like other fans are over here, like fans,
Right.
concert attendees are over trying to pull this side out, and then and she just, and when she her hair was finally free, the crowd erupted into this huge cheer. She didn't miss a beat, and people are still talking about that. But she practices her concerts. She in rehearsal, she practices with all the errors. I always say practice through your errors, because that's how you develop the skills to dig yourself out of whatever hole that you're in. So when she practices with, the mic cutting out, or her heel falling off, or them queuing up the wrong song. She didn't practice with the hair thing, and that's how she's become so flawless. That's why she's so compelling to watch, and why her confidence shines everywhere she goes, because she knows whatever comes her way, she's going to be able to figure out how to handle it. And that is key for being on camera as well. Whether you're doing a live media interview, you're doing a podcast, you're doing a live stream, or even just recording videos for your social media or your landing pages.
So another question, Kerry, being great on camera, how much of it is innate versus learned?
Oh my gosh, I was so bad when I first started. There was nothing innate about it. I have been looking from some of my first reels and stories that I did and bloopers, and as soon as I find them, I will post them, and you will see there's very few people who are born natural performers. Very few. I can think of maybe a couple, and I don't even know if there's anybody now that is a natural performer. I mean, even Beyonce has an alter ego so that she can get up on stage and deliver. Right. Sasha Fierce. It's learned. It comes with doing it, which builds skills, strategy, tactics, understanding what the camera does, right, to your delivery, and then building your confidence. But it takes, the only way I got any better is because I had to do it every single day when I was in the news industry. I couldn't go into my boss and be like, I'm not feeling it today. I'm a little bit nervous or scared, okay, Kerry, bye. So doing it every day is the best way to get better. But no, I was terrible. Most people are. Your first videos are going to suck, and that's fine. They all do. Mine did too. If I find them, I'll show them to you.
And mine did. So I want to thank you very much, Kerry, for the conversation today. Can people connect with you on LinkedIn?
Absolutely. Please, if you're watching and we're not connected, head on over there, give me a follow, hit a connection request, shoot me a DM or a question. I'd be delighted to connect and answer any questions that you can or that you have.
All right. Have a great day. Give Benjamin my best. If he, I don't know if he's like knocking the door there or whatever.
I will. Thank you for having me.
Take care. Have a great day, everyone.
See ya.